Mike said he would turn himself in. Then, he left in a hurry. No sooner had he left than Team Zheng overpowered his buddy. He was taken away on charges of harboring. Mike took Annie to the beach, enjoying the few moments of freedom left, because they knew there were only two ways to go. Either they become murderers and live in misery, or fall into a terrible cycle. By this time, Annie had taken too much melatonin. She was already drowsy. She went out into the cold water to try to wake up. Their relationship escalated. Once Annie had fallen asleep, Mike arrived at the police station ready to turn himself in, but just then, he suddenly went into a state of disorientation. He was stuck on a bus in a tiring outfit. It turns out he fell asleep at the police station, and then managed to get into the loop. They sighed. At last, the cycle has entered. It seemed that everything was still redeemable, but Mike was clearly weaker than before. But it's all they can do to keep their spirits up. The two men were soon in the zone. It turns out they'd already set up a plan back at the beach to pretend they were the police. Tell them there's a bomb in the car. At the next stop, they'd all get off the bus. But the old woman was very wary. That would have been suspicious. Mike thought he could type the message, but now there was a problem. Everyone could get out without being suspected. Only the driver had no reason to get out of the car. If we let the driver get out of the car too, the old woman would be able to see what was going on, and set off the bomb. Mike suggests that when everyone gets out of the car, and then he'd go down with the driver, or ditch the driver and save all the passengers. Annie was torn. She seemed to have an affinity for the driver, but that was all that could be done. Something had to be done now. They pretended that the school had sent them on a mission, on the pretext of holding a charity event, showing them the message typed on their phones. Everyone was successfully convinced. Even the old woman believed it. But then there was a mistake in delivering the message to the man. He thought it was just a live show. This also makes the old woman suspicious. Annie still wants to save the driver, but it's a good thing Mike stopped her. Otherwise she would have been exposed. Mike had to wait for everyone to get off before telling the driver. The stop was soon reached. Annie stopped Jack at the front door as he was about to get on, and that's when the old woman saw what was going on. When she saw everyone getting off the bus, the old woman finally woke up. The plan failed again. The 21st cycle begins immediately afterwards. The two men realize that informing everyone will lead to an uncontrollable situation, but at least it proves that everyone believes they are the police. Again, the pair plotted a strategy. The reason they let everyone out of the car, because the old woman had a bag in her hand. The two men had no way of dealing with her, since they could convince the passengers that they were cops. That's a good reason to get everyone to help. The only person in the car who was a warm-hearted man was the uncle. The others were not very trustworthy, and there were too many people at the next stop. Even if the bomb was thrown, even if they threw the bomb, it might hurt someone else. Annie suggested that they should act when they passed the bridge, but there were only 3 of us, including the uncle. There were bombs to be thrown, and we had to convince the driver to stop. That's not enough time, which meant that the plan would have to have one more helper to make it work. Mike had a sudden flash of insight.
帮手